treating everybody from the CEO to a maintenance staff member to a leasing staff member the exact same way. We kept them separate. Our maintenance would not be honest with us if our managers were there. At times, I see many companies treat the maintenance differently than they treat the managers. Both those roles are just the same. Both those roles have the exact same value.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Multifamily Chronicles. I'm your host, Adrian Danila. The special guest we have in the studio with us today is Lorena Fikes. Welcome to the show, Lorena.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Lorena is the VP of Innovation Council. Lorena, I want to start by introducing you to the audience. Start with telling us a little bit, share a little bit about your professional background with us.
Okay, so my professional background starts with in property management. It started with working at Essex. I don't even want to disclose what year, but I was there for about 13 years. I got to experience a lot during my time there. I was there during the 2013 merger with BRE. And then I decided to venture into technology because I'm here in the Bay Area. So I spent 5 years at a tech company here, heading up a lot of their events and community marketing. And then now I'm here at Multifamily Leadership. So yeah, I'm heading up a lot of our Innovation Council, and it's an advisory council for executives and really growing that portion of the business.
So, Lorena, I want to stay on your current position at the Innovation Council. What are some things that you could share more details with us, with me, and with the audience about the Innovation Council? And also tell us, why should people join your council?
Well, the Innovation Council is a unique group of people. It's all executives in the multifamily space, and they're uniquely positioned within multifamily. And it's a way for us to really connect when it comes to technology, it comes to AI, what's going on in the multifamily sector. What we find a lot of value in is spending the investment of time in yourself. A lot of times we invest in ourselves for different things, or we say that we don't have enough time to invest in, spending 1 hour a week. And you can only imagine 1 hour a week, you're actually saving time by listening to other, executives, having an open forum with other executives in the peer space and learning a lot of how they've overcome pitfalls, getting roadmaps from them, and really growing your business as well as your own self within the industry.
Let's talk about what's happening right there as much as you could disclose, right?
Mm-hmm.
From what you're hearing, because you're part of the regular weekly meetings out there. What seems to be the theme? What are the main challenges for the operators in the industry? What are the top challenges that they're facing?
I would say right now it's figuring out a way to best centralize and what makes sense, how to utilize AI in a way that, makes your business grow faster and more efficiently, how to save money. That's one of the biggest things that, our executives are looking at. And then how to really roll out technology stacks in an effective way that doesn't become an overlap of too many technology stacks. I can give you one example. We challenged our executives to go out to the field and spend a little bit of time with their leasing staff for one day. And it was really interesting because someone came back and said that when they were there, their leasing agent pulled out a binder and it had 79 different logins. And they were astonished with how many logins they had because of the amount of platforms that they had rolled out. And so the challenge is really connecting our executives with what actually happens on the day-to-day and how to look at things in a better viewpoint.
I'm hearing this is kind of like a theme that I'm hearing as well. This stuck with me since October of last year when I was at UpTech at the technology conference. I was in an audience on a panel, and the panel was talking about similar things, right? Not necessarily so many logins, but so many pieces of software that an entry-level employee should be proficient in, which I thought it was ridiculous. The number was in the 60s, like high 60s, 67 was the highest number from the panel. What are some ways in which I think we could approach as an industry and we could mitigate the situation? Because it's completely unreasonable to pay someone, entry-level wages and expect them to be proficient, right, in 60 plus pieces of software.
One thing is, do they need all the software, right? Does every person need the same access to all the software? How can the software work for us behind the scenes using AI without actually the people in the leasing staff having to touch it? What can be done using AI in an efficient way to help support the staff? The problem is, even what we hear in our innovation council is the challenges of training, right? You have to think about, if you roll out 60 pieces of technology, how do you train people? How do you keep up with the training and being able to keep them up to speed? You can't. So it's really, how can we roll out the technology that makes sense? How does the technology work for us in the everyday life of the leasing agent, and what's the best way to utilize that where it isn't something they have to physically log in, right? It should be working for you in the most effective way to still accomplish what you need every day without an agent having to input specific things.
Lorena, I want to reach out to your marketing expertise because you've been in marketing and property management, like multifamily related marketing with operators, with a large one, as you mentioned, with Essex for a long period of time, 13 years, right?
Yes.
I do want to ask you, what are the main challenges that you're seeing the operators facing from a marketing perspective in today's environment, specific marketing challenges?
I mean, my whole time at Essex was in the marketing department. And so I will say, like, when I was there during my time, a lot of the challenges are still the same challenges now, especially for marketing. It's making sure that people understand that marketing should have a seat at the table at all times. There's so much that we do, and to make us effective in all the different touch points with technology, with construction, with, everyday, community things that happen. I know during my time, I had 25 new developments that I rolled out. That's a big portion, right? And every single department, we would sit at the same table when it came to IT, it came to the development department, it came to the operations team, asset management. All of those people sat at the table because we all had the same common goal, was to roll out the lease up in the most efficient way and save money, right? Not give out as many different comps to get people in, right? And how do we do that? How do we work effectively? How are we on the same page? So I think the challenges sometimes, and what we're hearing, is that our IT departments are rolling things out or making decisions without the thought process of how does it actually fit with our marketing? Where are our advertising dollars spent? Can we scale back in advertising dollars because we're going to roll out this technology that may be much more effective in ways that we aren't looking at in, creating our SEO, right? Do we maybe focus on blogging, and do we automate the blogging instead of just, having someone centrally doing social media posting? Can we automate that? Can we create AI to create, a plan for that just goes along in the background, but still touches some of the other things that are happening within the organization? So I would say the biggest challenge is really ensuring that all of our executives teams are aligned and working together. I think what I love about the council is that there's many different people in the council at a high level executive, but in many different seats. So there's CFOs, there's CIOs, there's CCOs, there's CEOs, right? And it's really great, especially on the marketing side, to ask a certain question and know how to present it to someone else at your organization. How do I best roll this out, knowing the way a CFO is looking at it, knowing the way the CTO is looking at it, so that you're much more effective to really have a better alignment and roll something out that really is impactful, and you get the buy-in that you need so that it's effective.
Basically, what you've been describing here is companies being siloed, having different silos, which operate kind of like without knowing what the other silos are doing. What are some efficient ways in which property management companies can break those silos and make their operations more efficient, and also include everybody, include all the angles, like you said, all the opinions, like you said? We got to have a place at the table. You can't just ignore certain departments and then expect them to build a marketing plan for you in your case, without actually being at the table, without actually knowing what's going on, like trying to imagine.
The best way is really to have more effective executive meetings, to really, bring people together, to really understand when you're going to do something, for example, as a lease up, right? How do we have a better discussion? And like, here's what we're looking at for maybe a marketing plan. And how do we pivot quickly? How do we make changes? We think we always understand who our audience is. We think we always understand our demographics. Our demographics change. Our audience changes. Sometimes we go in with one specific understanding of the persona that we're targeting, and it can be completely different. So you have to be open-minded to understanding what maybe operations is seen on a day-to-day basis, especially if marketing isn't physically in, the office every day. I would say an example of this would be even just understanding what our leasing teams as well as our maintenance teams are seeing. Sometimes we neglect to understand how the maintenance views something, and they are so smart. They actually talk to our customers more than any other team member does. At Essex, I helped kind of lead managers retreats as well as maintenance retreats. The cool thing with that was we kept them separate. Our maintenance would not be honest with us if our managers were there. And we got more out of them keeping them separate. And we actually did some really amazing things for them. We rolled out Essex Mania, and we had all these different fun contests. They had to, change out toilets, all of this stuff. I mean, we took them off site for 3 days, just like we would a manager. And we have to ensure that we're seeking the information from the right people, maybe hosting committees, right? There's certain maintenance people that want to sit at the table and want to understand some things and want to understand why we're rolling out certain things. And they have some amazing questions and they have amazing feedback that we're not tapping into if we don't open ourselves up to listening to them.
You just touched on a subject that's very close to my heart. What role the maintenance teams play into the operations of a property, of a site, but also I'm looking at them as an integral part of your marketing plan. And I'm going to explain. When you have employees going to address maintenance issues, they're basically wearing the company uniform with the company logo, hopefully, right? And they should look professional, clean cut, clean uniforms, no stains, look good and smell good, and speak professionally. Imagine if you don't have some or any of that. What type of image does your company show in front of our residents, right? I've been a big proponent on saying you have to look for the opportunity, for the potential for maintenance teams to become one of your tools in your marketing box, not because they're tools, but be that secret weapon in your marketing. So my question to you now, Lorena, is if I was to ask you, Lorena, could you put together a plan, like a pitch for the higher ups, for the executives of Greystar company, for example, right? How do we convince the executives, people at the top level, that there's value into representing, into investing in maintenance and use them as people that are carrying the marketing message for our brand? What would you suggest?
I would start off, to be honest, looking at the numbers for reputation management. They're our first point of the face, right? And they see the properties. They're there when you first move in. They're there throughout your move in, right? When during your stay, they're the first touch points. And then when you also move out, right? And so how you leave at a property, do you want to continue staying with a community with Greystar, right? So you gave that example. I may want to move here and it's because of the location, but I may want to stay with the Greystar family, but it just has to be somewhere else because I got a job somewhere else. We want to keep and retain all of our customers, right? There's such value in retaining the customers rather than turning them over. So understanding where does our reputation start and how do we want to grow it? And what's that dollar value for our reputation? Because it's pretty high. You're starting off with the reputation low. People are looking at it. They're not just looking at the negative, they're looking at the response. Do you value your reputation? Are you responding to all the reviews? There's going to be people, obviously, people that complain, talk the loudest, but they want to see, does your company respond to those reviews? And a lot of the reviews come from their day-to-day on the property on site, which is, again, in hand with your maintenance team. So it's interesting. The other day on our Innovation Council, one of the executives, it was CEO, she said that she pushed back on her teams and said, they wanted to roll out clothing attire. And she gave them the option. She goes, here's what you have to stay within. Here are the different things that I expect. It has to have a logo. It has to have this kind of material. This is what I want you to kind of look at. But you guys decide as a team to sit together and decide what our clothing is going to look like. I think that's amazing, right? At the end of the day, people in corporate don't wear the same clothes that everybody on site does. They might be choosing it, but they don't understand how it works for them every day. So giving them that opportunity to have a say in how they look and how they feel is a great representation of, hey, they care about what I think, and then I represent the company in a positive way to be much more effective. So I would definitely start off with, what is that value for your reputation? And in holding that to say, our maintenance adds value to our reputation, and this is how it's going to grow us.
One of the things that I do quite often is traveling. So, of course, when I travel, I use hotels to stay overnight. I'm pretty amazed at how certain brands, are going above and beyond to make their customer a fan of their brand. The brand recognition is so important. We're not really seeing this in multifamily. And actually, I read somewhere, I wish I remember where, but there was someone stating that in property management, like, we don't have brand recognition. People don't choose to live at a certain apartment community because it's managed by, whether it's Greystar or Cortland or Emily or whomever. So I'm seeing this as, definitely a challenge for the operators, but I'm also seeing as a huge opportunity, because
Mhm.
if brand recognition is not a thing in 2024 in multifamily, it could become a thing. The companies that are starting that, they could start that trend and start to bring this to the table, so then their residents will follow them where the brand goes. I think this would be a huge opportunity. With this being said, what are some things that multifamily brands can do, mirroring the hotel chains, to bring that flavor, to make those residents like fans of their brand, to have them stuck to the brand for years and years and years, or for life?
I mean, it really starts with having a brand that's recognized, right? And starting there and building that and identifying what are your key things that you want people to walk away with when they see your brand, and really understanding what that looks like in terms of how you speak, how you look, setting that persona up and sharing that with everybody, right? All the on-site teams, all the corporate teams, anyone that touches a customer, everybody should walk and talk the way your brand wants to be representative. And then from there, it's really just ensuring that high level customer service. All the brands that are the top brands, I know for myself, if I have to go stay at a hotel, I'm wanting to stay at a Marriott, right? Because I know consistently how they're going to treat me. I know that if I'm unhappy with something, they're going to try to make it right. I know that they care about the value of me coming to their hotel. And that's personal to me. With the amount of turnover we have, if we hold ourselves to the same consistency of customer service, but it's also our own company having that same customer service and respect for our own employees. We can't expect our employees to have this high level of customer service outwardly if we're not treating them the same way. So it's really taking a step back and ensuring that we have a great, commitment to our employees. We're growing them. We're being effective in what's best in, their own careers. And we're building a safe environment for them to want to stay with our organization. And if we do that, we'll continue to build a really effective brand and get to where some of these different hotels are at right now.
I want to stay on marketing and ask you a question about content marketing. How do you view content creation? How important is content in today's environment in 2024? And what are some things that you would suggest for companies to do so they could elevate their brand through content creation?
Ensuring that they have a consistent content brand. There's different ways to approach content. There's different pieces of content, right? There's content for media. There's content for, your website. Then there's content for social media. There's content for so many different avenues. Ensuring that there's a way of looking at the content that it's consistent, but it speaks to all the different audiences. The one thing I've always seen is that when I've done different analysis on where your marketing comes from, there are multiple touch points, anywhere between 6 to 10 touch points when someone touches your brand. So they can start with maybe a podcast. Then they can read one of your blogs. They can find somebody that works at your company on LinkedIn. They might read a Glassdoor review. So there's many different touch points, and ensuring that everything that you do is consistent. Your level of who you are as a company has to remain at a level that really provides customer centricity. I mean, if you think about it, even Glassdoor, how do you respond to, the feedback that's given when somebody leaves your organization? How do you treat employees? That all is effective to everything that you build in your content. And SEO is everything. So all the different touch points that you have in your content, using keywords, making sure that they all connect back to everything that you're building, and your website is consistent. It's easy to read. It's easy to get to. Do you have everything available on, a cell phone? Because a lot of people are moving fast. So how can I get the information that I want at my fingertips the way I want it? If I want to go to Yelp and find you, I want to find you there. If I want to go on Instagram and find you, I want to know that I can find the information that is important. But I would say with any company, start with the touch points that you can manage effectively before you go into different channels. So don't just go into Instagram unless you're going to do it for just your company and hold a high level brand for just one name. But if you have 230 assets, it's going to be really hard to have 230 Instagram accounts and run them effectively.
What I've been noticing as customer, potential customer, is that companies are investing a lot into their brand at the corporate level. They want their website to look spiffy. They want the most inspirational things to be on a company website. But when it trickles down to, site level, first of all, sites, for the most part, they're professionally made because, it's a business nowadays. They're not like building
Mhm.
a site, their company is building for them. But I'm seeing that if you look at the corporate level and then if you look at the site level, their activity, their social media activity, and how they're being portrayed, a lot of times there's a gap, and a lot of times there's a significant gap. How can the companies close this gap between the way they want to be presented, this, all shiny, we care about our people, and all those great things that they have on a company website versus site level reality, which could be like the totally opposite at times.
I don't think you really always need to hire an employee that just manages social media. I think if you set the standard and set the tone of what you want every single community to be like, you push a lot of that to AI. You have that work effectively for you. It's really hard when it comes to certain things to have an opinion based, right? You want to remove the opinion, you want to remove the personal part of it. And it's really hard to hire for someone that understands that. And you don't want to just hire just that position, right? You want to hire someone that can do a little bit of everything. So I would say it's just an example, the self-driving cars, right? There's cars, and I was like, I don't know if I want to get in a self-driving car. Like, would I really want? Like, that just seems crazy to me. But if you think about it, the way that technology has been built, that car knows more than a single person driving, right? They probably have a lot more experience than a single person driving. And what if I'm having a bad day? What if I'm not happy that day and I'm driving, or I'm in a rush because I'm late to get to somewhere? And so I'm driving much more faster than I normally would. The self-driving car won't have the personal day to day. They won't be in a rush. So it's looking at things, what makes sense, right? And AI in some of those aspects can take aspects of your brand, pull it together, and identify what is this, what do you want this property to stand out? What is important aspects of this property? Is it there's, the best schools in the area? Is it walkable to different restaurants? What are the qualities that make this community important and valuable to that demographic? And then showcasing that on social media.
You give a wonderful example about the self-driving cars. I think right now, there's also the argument that they could be hacked because, they're using technology. So, that's, I guess, the fear, right? They're hackable. They're susceptible to being hacked. And probably, if we go into conspiracy theories like that actually did happen, not necessarily to just, self-driving cars, but to cars that have electronic technology that have GPS and everything. There's ways for them to be hacked. Now, I want to take this to AI, right? Because you mentioned AI, and AI is such a huge topic nowadays. And I think that, we're not really touching enough. Like everybody, it's either like scared, pro, or against AI. But how do you see AI influencing the industry in general in the next 5 years? And how do you see AI influencing the marketing side of the industry in particular?
I'll give you an example. I think people are fearful of AI because they think it's going to take someone's job. I don't see it being that case. I think that the way AI works is you need a person at the front end and you need a person at the back end of what you do. And then from there, we need to identify what does your process look like and how do we implement AI to roll out within that process to help support that process. Once the person identifies what's your process look like. For example, you might find that X amount of employees are spending a ridiculous amount of time going through resumes. Are they looking at it personally? Are they looking at gaps a certain way than somebody else? So for example, you can put that into and have AI pull out the most important features of every resume, automate that, identify who are the people that you need to respond to, make it automated so that you respond to them and make it seem like it's a personal touch. And then at the back end, you'll have somebody actually personally reach out. Like the amount of time that's being spent and thousands of dollars where someone can be effective in a better way using their time, it's much more efficient. And so that's one example. Another example is blogging, right? Content right now is king in a lot of cases, especially with SEO. So finding a content writer that really touches every single person. I use AI all the time. I use ChatGPT to write half the stuff I do. So don't be surprised if you see it on LinkedIn. But It's because it automatically knows and it's much more qualified at what's the best reach for certain things. What are people reading? What are they interested in? And how to gather that what I'm trying to share and express in a way that really connects with the audience. Yesterday, we had a call with somebody that's interested in something, some of our technology stacks. And for them, it was, how do I look at different properties that I'm looking at buying? How do I aggregate the data? How do I aggregate the information, put that in an analysis report, and have that spit that out and tell me exactly what I need to do? Think about the hours spent trying to do something like that, where you can just turn it over to AI and have it roll, provide you, an analysis, and so that you can make better decisions and move quicker. And there might be things that you may miss because you weren't trained to look at it that way that AI can help support.
AI is definitely way better than humans in many aspects. Tasks that could be automated. The machines are so much better. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I think there was a military flight simulation being done between a pilot and another plane that was flew by AI, just using strictly AI, no human commands. 100% of the fights, the plane that was controlled by AI won. There's no way today for a plane controlled by a human to beat a plane controlled by AI. That's scary in a way, but also could be harvested by us, by humans, to do good for the world. It's not just the dark side of things. Of course, every time that there's technology, some people are going to use it for negative. They're going to have like hidden purposes. They're going to use it to commit crime. But at the same time, the humanity as a whole historically has benefited from any type of technology that was invented way more than it was detrimental to the humanity. I'm hoping that AI is not going to be like the exception that confirms the rule. I'm of the same opinion as you are that it's not about AI replacing jobs. I think AI will replace the jobs of individuals that don't know how to efficiently use AI. They don't know how to use AI as a tool. I think that's going to be a serious situation for those individuals. So if you're staying out, you're staying behind just because you don't like or you don't think this is necessary, you're going to be left behind. You're going to lose the job, not because of AI, but because you didn't know how to use AI as a tool. Do you disagree here?
Agree. I think that if you look at even just technology alone, in multifamily, we are kind of, slow to buying into technology. And I know, having left, multifamily and going into tech, there we test things. We are asked to break things. We are asked to, like, really get our hands dirty and figure out what makes sense. Why do we want to do something? And we're just much quicker to doing things. Going back in the way multifamily is, and listening to some of the executives in the council, they're afraid because you don't want to test too early. You don't want to be the one that is the guinea pig. But if you're not the guinea pig, you're not going to learn, and you're not going to get better, and you're not going to be faster to making changes. There's going to be executives coming in that might not have multifamily experience, but they have tech experience. And that's what's going to matter in the end, because there are different tech companies waiting to come into multifamily to really take over. And their products weren't made for multifamily, which is kind of great sometimes, because if you think about it, some of the products that were designed for multifamily weren't able to sustain or really be flexible during COVID, because they weren't made that way. They were made for an agent to be in the office every day, right? That changed quickly during COVID. And then we weren't able to pivot as quickly as we needed to. And some companies still aren't centralized. Even on the Innovation Council, we have some, executives that are in there that have 100% centralized everything with all of their apartment homes. And then we have some that are just tapping into centralization. We want to find ourselves at a place where we're testing things. Does it work for us? How do we manage it? Do we need to be fully centralized? What makes sense in what markets? What works for us? It's not a fit for all, just the way AI is, right? AI may work for you in your business in a different way than it may work for someone else in their business. But until you get your hands dirty and testing it in certain aspects, and you can start small. You can start with automating your blogging. You can start with automating project management things that you're doing on a daily basis. You can start with automating just your recruiting, the way you're doing things. All these different things start somewhere. You will then develop a thought process on, how can I do it in other aspects of my business that I haven't been thinking about, that really will make things much more effective? How do I look at a marketing plan and integrate how we're doing operations, how we're doing asset management, how we're doing other things that I may not have seen because I'm not looking at it that way?
Well, now we're going to switch gears a little bit. I want you to share with us, what are the biggest lessons that you've learned from being in the multifamily industry?
Gosh, I've learned a lot. I think the biggest lesson I learned was to be open minded. I started off in multifamily as an executive admin. I quickly grew from that into an event coordinator because we needed that role. I loved it. I then added marketing to that. And, there were so many changes that happened while I was there. And, being flexible will allow you to grow so much more. I got to experience so many different things. I got to take on so many responsibilities. Having the right advocates as an executive really kind of supported me. And there were times where I didn't know I was ready to do something, but somebody else did. And so I would say speaking up on your behalf, especially as a female, like knowing when to say, hey, I can take on more, and putting yourself to have a seat at the table with different departments, different things. Spending a day, I spent a day with maintenance. I spent a day with the leasing team to really understand what goes on at the properties, because how was I going to build a marketing plan completely separate from what was going on at the community? I needed to walk the community. I needed to walk the comps myself. I needed to understand what they were seeing on an everyday. And you will gain so much more respect, and you will grow and you will learn if you treat everybody the same way that you would want to be treated. I am so thankful for my opportunities that I had in multifamily, because it really changed me. It really grew me, and it allowed me to really have a different mindset even when I went into the tech industry and coming back into multifamily, having my experience in tech. I would say the first lesson is making sure to expand your thought process, listen to others, be willing to take risks. I was so scared sometimes to take risks because I didn't want to, fail. I didn't want to do something wrong. And I think if you have the right executive team and the right leaders, risks are important. You won't get farther if you don't take risks, especially when it comes to tech.
Who is the most inspirational person in your life? The person that made the most positive impact in your life?
My mom, hands down. My mom came here when she was 14 years old. She had me when she was 17. She had 3 kids by the time she was 20. My mom owns, I think, one, two, three homes now. She is probably the most hardest working person I've ever met. And she gave me such a desire to always want to work hard, want to be the best version of myself. And I saw her sacrifice so much for us, her kids. And so I'm really thankful. And I always want to prove that I'm working just as hard as she is, because she gave us the opportunities to be here and to, grow up here in the Bay Area, be here with you on this podcast.
One of the things that I think about often lately is legacy. I'm obsessed with what am I leaving behind, right? So, in this context, I want to ask you, how would you like to be remembered? We're arguably around here for a short period of time, some will say, right? Life goes by fast. How would you like to be remembered?
Hands down, to be a good mom. I have one daughter. I love her to death, and that's my most important job, is to raise her to be a good human being. I want people to know that I'm kind, and I want to know hardworking. Those are the 3 qualities I think are the most important.
Lorena, what are some final thoughts?
I would say, especially when it comes to multifamily, just be willing to try new things. When it comes to tech, when it comes to AI, it's such a beautiful thing. And there's so much opportunity. The internet has grown, it's developed, it has so much information out there to make us better and make us more efficient. And ensure that you are aligned with great peers so that you're not repeating mistakes that somebody else has repeated. In that essence, I would say join our Multifamily Innovation Council. There are many peers in there that are going to help you. We have weekly call, just 1 call a week. And if you can't make it, you can watch the recording. But this is a way to connect with executives and to understand different roadmap challenges and work together on a call, be open-minded, be able to have open discussion with everyone and learn and grow. And spend that time growing for yourself, because the more we grow, the better we're going to be, not only for our home, for our jobs, but for those around us.
If someone wants to get in touch with you, Lorena, what are some ways in which they could reach out to you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me, Lorena, at multifamilyleadership.com, and send a bird. I'll find you.
Lorena Fikes, it's been a pleasure to have you on today. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Everybody, this is another episode of Multifamily Chronicles. Signing off. I'm your host, Adrian Danila. Hope to see you back here soon. Here. Have an amazing afternoon.
Bye, guys.